Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo. The Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo.
Welcome into another episode of the Joe Schmo Sports Show. I'm your host. My name is Clint Webb. Alongside me, as always, is my man over here, Mr. Dominic Battistella.
What's going on, Clint?
And our man behind the curtain, of course, is Mr. Andre Cameron. And today we have two very special guests here. They are legends in the Triangle sports broadcasting industry.
Oh, boy.
We have Mr. Joe Ovius from 99.9 The Fan, the OG, and Miss Lauren Brownlow. She is also with 99.9 The Fan and millions of other things. It seems she is of Twitter fame.
And that's probably accurate. Yeah, that's fair.
How do you feel being called a legend?
I feel like I'm not sure what it's for, and I am. I'm like, wait, what was the legend part from?
You're Twitter famous.
That's fair.
That's for sure.
And to be fair, Clint also likes to be hyperbolic.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I also like everything Carolina, and Lauren tweets a lot about.
I feel like Carolina Twitter's mixed on me. I don't know though.
I
know
enjoy
you like
it.
me. Thank you.
I enjoy it, and
that's
see
all that
people
matters.
I see it is really all that matters.
It
Dom,
is.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, how about you guys tell us a little about yourself? And Joe, since ladies first always, we're going to start with Lauren.
I'm from Greensboro originally, home of the founding of the ACC tournament forever. Probably not, since we have a new commissioner. But
it's like Bane. Some people have only adopted the ACC.
Yeah.
I was
born
exactly
into it.
like literally minutes. I wasn't born at Sedgefield, but I lived there most of my life.
Okay,
but that is literally where it was founded. So
nice.
There's that. But yeah, grew up in Greensboro. Played basketball and tennis growing up. Went to Carolina. I know that will surprise some of Carolina Twitter, perhaps. Sorry. I guess. I'm not sorry. But,
And you graduated in a really good year.
I did. I graduated in 2005.
Yeah, you went out on top.
Now, I will say, though, I did feel cheated when I got there as a freshman in 2002. Because I'm like, excuse me.
8 and 20.
Yeah. I'm like, I did not sign up for this.
Well,
I would have just gone to Maryland, which was my backup, which was my second choice. I would have just gone here if I wanted good basketball. Come on, man.
that fits your personality, though, being a Maryland basketball fan, because you do play dirty. So.
Oh, that-
But
Yeah.
what does AG say about your Maryland being your backup school?
Well, not backup's the wrong way of putting it, right? It was more like that was the only other place I really wanted to go that I got into. My parents were like, you better find some scholarship money since it's out of state tuition. And I'm like, don't know where to find that.
Yep.
Guess I'm going to Carolina then.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah.
So Carolina was your safety
Exactly.
school.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm not
Whoa.
really. It was not like that. I applied like a million
Carolina
places,
Twitter is going to have a
seriously.
problem with this.
No,
I can
they're
already
just
see
going to be the
thread
same.
on a high C.
I'm waiting for. I'm going to start it.
Yeah.
And I started working for Adam Lucas, who I know is a name most people know.
Oh, yeah.
Fresh out of school as an intern. I got hired full time after that. Worked for him till like 2011, I want to say. And then went freelance, then got hired by, I think it was ACC Sports Journal first. Yeah, I think Jim hired me to do my GIF previews.
Jim Hevener?
Jim Young.
Okay, Jim Young.
Formerly the editor of ACC Sports Journal. He hired me to do, I don't know if I was quite into GIFs yet, but I was close at that point. And he hired me to do that, my GIF sort of previews that became that anyway for ACC Sports. Then Fox Sports Carolinas hired me, I covered football, basketball, Wake and the Triangle teams, plus the Hurricanes. And Florida State when they were in town, because that was like when Jameis Winston was in school. And so they'd be like, oh, go cover Florida State at Wake.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, my God.
Good old crap self.
Yeah, exactly. So I
That
was
dub.
pretty busy.
Dominic will want to talk to you about hockey more in a little bit. Didn't you ghostwrite for Adam Lucas?
I wouldn't put it that way. No, I helped write his books.
Okay.
So basically, if he would do an interview or whatever, he would send me audio and I would transcribe it. So like any book the 1957 book, I helped a lot on the 100 Years of Carolina Basketball book. I did a lot of interviews for
That's
that
a
myself,
great one.
actually. Yeah. And it was really fun. I also did some stats for them of every player historically ever, which took a long time, but I have an Excel spreadsheet somewhere with everybody in it. So that's the thing I did. And yeah, I did a ton of stuff when I worked there. And yeah, the Wes Miller's book as well, I helped write. Yeah, Wes is that was probably my most interesting one I helped on, to be honest. Although the older stuff's cool too, because it's history. But yeah, so I did that. And then where am I at now? I was with Fox, and then I had been doing radio with y'all off and on. Really, like I'd come on with you guys a couple times. It wasn't like a regular thing at that point, I don't think. by the
No,
time I got.
you didn't start coming on the radio until 2012.
But at this point, I'm like almost done with Fox. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was like 2012ish. I started coming on both with Mike Maniscalco in the morning and then with you guys in the afternoon. You guys had me on first, I believe. And yeah, so I started guest hosting some with Mike mostly at that time, and some with you guys, or some with you after that mostly. Gold would do it if he had to.
That's a dream of Dom's at this moment, is to have Maniscalco on the show.
But
He would definitely.
you guys
awesome
have
that.
the dream set up for
Is
Manis.
it-
Be all about.
Yeah.
Be all about.
Manis heaven.
So
Nice.
do you
I'm
want
gonna
to
send him some photos?
Do you want to set
Yeah.
Carolina Twitter straight right now? What's your how's
Oh,
your
it's-
fandom
it's-
lie? Like what?
It's I no one believes this, and I understand why. I get it, okay, because I've been on the other side of it, so I understand. Joe can tell you I didn't like Joe very much. Like we got to know each other. Like as a personality, I'm like, I don't like him. What's his deal? What's
What
he
is
always
this
so
past tense
above
nonsense?
everything? What's his problem? And
And now she's like associated with me.
right,
Bum,
yeah,
bum, bum.
exactly. I am invested, if anything, in the players I like or a storyline I think. Like we make predictions all the time. Like we all do that. If anything, we're invested in being right sometimes.
Oh,
but
of
if
course.
it doesn't happen, you can still say, okay, I was wrong. Like Joe and I both still get Mac Brown tweets. And
Yeah.
it's, okay, sorry, you guys made a hire. We had an opinion. I guess next time we just won't bother to have an opinion. Is that what you would rather us do?
No,
I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but
Yeah.
It's a
you know.
it's a classic case where apparently something changed along the lines in the last 5 years, 6
it's
years.
the old takes exposed. Like,
It's not even old takes exposed. There's a lot of you're not allowed to change your mind. You're
Of
not
course.
allowed to have a thought of how something was going to go, and then you get more information or things go in a different direction. And you
Exactly.
can just admit, you know what, I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
And this happened to me recently when I said I was actually going to go to a Canes game here soon. I'm actually going to go to a Canes game in person next Saturday. Oh, this upcoming Saturday, I should say. And I had a couple of people like, didn't you just say you weren't going to go to a Canes game this year? I'm like, things change.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Number one,
I want
I'm
to.
vaccinated now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
really.
Back in January when
vaxxed.
this stuff was happening, I wasn't, and my thought was, you ain't gonna see me there.
Yeah, sure.
Bulls
Right, right.
game,
Yeah.
sure. Plus, I'm a company man. So I'll
Also,
go to a
like
Bulls
Canes
game.
tickets were really pricey. They might have
Well,
come
they're
down a
still
little
Upper
bit.
pricey.
upper level. I
Yeah.
bought directly from the team. Upper level's $80.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
That
Bulls
is-
just
Canes
what's
game.
that?
Bulls are getting ready to start now, or
Yeah,
have
May
started.
11th is
May
their
11th.
first.
Yeah.
They were supposed to start this past
Yeah,
weekend,
that's what I
but
thought.
Major League Baseball postponed the start of their season by
Yeah,
a
well,
month.
yeah.
So to go back to that, I personally like sports personalities, sports commentators that are willing to admit they were wrong
Sure.
and accept the reality of a new position. But it seems to me there are so many out there who are on the major media outlets.
Yeah.
They're so invested in being right,
Right.
that they're willing to cherry pick
Yes.
facts and things like that
For sure.
to argue their rightness, even though they're blatantly wrong. Nick being my favorite one on this. I could have an entire episode just ranting about that guy, but you know,
He's the one you pick out.
Oh, okay.
Would you
I was
like
gonna
me to
go
talk
with, like,
about
a
Skip Bayless?
Some of them do it as an industry.
Well,
Yeah. At least has-
to be fair, I'm a Bills fan, and he hates Josh Allen,
Oh, well,
and I think he's totally wrong about him and won't stop being wrong.
as a Panthers fan, can relate with,
Yeah.
the Cam
Yeah,
Newton
yeah.
experience over an extended period of time, where it would be
Sure.
like, even when he's winning MVP, there'd be people out there be like,
Well, yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, what do you, come on.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see if Josh Allen backs it up, but that's another story
We
altogether.
can, we,
Yeah,
can, we
well-
can get into that in a few minutes.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
That's one too. Like,
Growing up in a Dolphins household, I ain't got time.
See,
Can we have a debate
This
about
should be
who is
fun.
actually a better quarterback over the course of their career, Jim Kelly or Dan Marino?
oh no.
Wow.
Before we get into any of that, let's hear a little bit about Joe,
Please.
because I have one specific thing from your bio that I want to ask you about, and Dominic already knows this. But so tell us a little bit about Joe.
As I was jokingly referencing, I grew up in South Florida. My dad was an IBMer, and so I grew up going to Dolphins games and Miami Hurricane games. So that's my main youth experience with sports. But moved here in 1995 because IBM moved a bunch of jobs up here. So
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I was either here or Rochester,
Sure.
New York.
Yeah.
And my dad was like,
a little cold.
I would like to experience summer.
Yeah.
So,
Or
so
any
No,
season.
you only get summer in Miami versus
Right,
you do
it's
get
like-
summer in Rochester, but you get all the other
Yeah.
seasons.
So we ended up here, and I wrapped up high school at Cardinal Gibbons, and then went to NC State. And originally, I thought I was going to do computer science.
That sounds fun.
I was into it. I mean, I'm into tech stuff, but it wasn't. Like, I kind of caught myself my freshman and sophomore year trying to get coding, and I did not envision myself sitting in front of a computer terminal hammering out code all the time, especially with a peer group, too, that I didn't have a lot in common with. Like, I could I can nerd out with the best of them, but so what are you doing this weekend? Like that kind of like it never really.
You seem a bit too
Coding.
extroverted for
Yes.
that.
Very
Yes.
much. Yeah.
So with that in mind, they pushed me towards more of a management position. So I transitioned to what was called management information systems.
Okay.
Basically, you're dangerous enough to know what the code is, but you can manage. You're more extroverted. You could probably be in management.
You can
but
speak to people.
You can speak to people.
Yeah.
So, which is desperately needed. In,
Oh, yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
An extroverted coder looks at your shoes when they talk to you.
So I ended up spending most of my time, though, from my freshman year up until I graduated, hanging out at WKNC,
Okay.
which is the college radio station there at State.
Mm-hmm.
And my junior and senior year, I elevated to general manager, and that's when I decided I kind of like this radio thing. And I wanted to get a radio gig, but the only radio gig that was available at the time, the only place that would hire me was the old sports talk station that was called 850 The Buzz.
Loved 850 The Buzz.
So my senior year, first semester senior year, that was 2000, I got a part-time gig at 850 The Buzz, which involved running the board for a syndicated golf show. And then, do you remember Drew Smith on WTVD?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So he had a show
Yeah.
on Saturday
I did
that
not
I
know
would
that.
produce. So I would basically just take phone calls and put them on the screen, and he would read them. And then I would do the same thing on Sunday morning. There was a show called Computers 2K that was like the
Right up your alley?
It was basically like the car talk of NPR, but for
Okay.
computers. That we did. And Amnon Nissan. No, it was hilarious. We get people all the time. It's like, hey, this won't work, and Amnon would troubleshoot it for them on the air.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
He was
you
Amnon. If Amnon heard me, he'd laugh because he'd always say, "Did you reboot it?"
Exactly.
And that was always his opening line. So anyway, if to put us, I bring all this up to put a summary on my overall radio career in the triangles. That I got my foot in the door to do sports talk radio at 850 The Buzz, not necessarily as I thought I was going to be doing sports talk radio. It was just a radio gig. I always enjoyed sports, but it was not what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to be like some FM rock jock,
Which would fit, right?
but because of things like streaming, I mean, you got to remember, like Napster had just come on the
yeah.
scene.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember going in college to a thing called Collegiate Music Journal, and one of the panels was about MP3s, and they didn't know what to do. And the radio reps were, this is how old I am, the radio reps were like, oh, it's a phase. We'll get it. People are going to be buying the quality. No, I'm getting the cheap. Like, it's free. I don't care what the quality is.
Yeah,
It's free, and I'm listening to it on tinny earbuds. I'm good.
It's my favorite four-letter word.
So, free 99.
That's right.
And that's when I thought, all right, I still want to do radio, and I got a job at 850, so I just hung around. And that's pretty much been it between 2000 and
It seems like it worked out.
I'd say it worked
You know?
out. But like
Yeah.
in radio and media in general, you can go one of two ways. You can bounce around to go find the job that you have, or you basically outlast everybody. And I was the latter. Basic people would go on. I mean, my first full-time gig at 850, I didn't become full-time until 2002. And the reason why that happened was because Mike Solarte eventually took a job with News 14 Carolina at the
Still
time.
there.
So that
Yeah.
elevated a guy to host, which
Okay.
then opened up a producer gig for Adam Gold.
Sure.
And then I became Adam's producer, and then that's pretty much how things play.
That's
out.
when I
Basically-
started listening.
But that's how this. But that's how the story goes. It's okay. Somebody leaves or somebody gets fired. All right. Well, all right? Ovius, you do it.
Yeah.
And then just boop, 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 keep
Yeah.
moving up, and then
Sure.
Dude, the
Now I'm
digital
here.
download definitely killed the music industry as far as that side goes. Because I worked at Warehouse Music on Franklin Street
oh yeah,
Yeah.
from 2000 to 2003 or 2004,
Sure.
whenever it closed. All right, so a couple things on your bio that just made me laugh. I'll wait on yours. Right, you can say that one. It says you're
I don't even
playing.
know where my bio is.
Saying your playing days.
Yeah.
23 years in Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yes. It's true. I had my hand in the dirt,
Yeah.
or on the controller at least.
Who was your team?
I was always the Bears.
Okay. All right. So who was the unstoppable player on the Bears? Because there was one for every team. Okay. Well, that
So
makes-
I would people. I'm
that
like,
makes
you want to
sense.
be Bo Jackson?
Sure.
I got
Michael Irvin, Bo Jackson.
Singletary can just move up through the line
and kill you. So I guess Bo Jackson never trucked you as Mike Singletary.
Well, no, Singletary was good at least slowing Bo Jackson down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could just stop Bo with
Okay.
Singletary and just hit the button, you might get blown up
Yeah.
by Bo.
Oh, yeah, for
but
sure.
you slowed him down to a point where the computer guy,
Brian
would
Bosworth style.
would eventually come up and help you out.
All right. Now Dominic has something that he wants to ask, and I told him I know where it's from, but he wants to make sure.
On your bio, it talks about the most memorable sports experience for you
Yeah.
being the wide right game.
Yes.
Now I told him this was from Florida State, and
Not State, Florida State, Miami, Florida State.
Miami, Florida State.
Okay, so my
not Scott
my
Wood- it's not
contention
Scott Norwood.
is that
That's where
are
he's
you
going.
kidding me? That doesn't matter. The original wide right game is the Buffalo New York Super Bowl 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you as a Miami fan have to recognize that Scott Norwood was the inspiration for Ray Finkel.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
and
that-
that was the
Laces
wide
out,
right
Dan.
game.
Laces
Laces out.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when he said the wide right game, he told me that I was like, oh, is he a Bills fan? Because that influenced me as a sports fan as a child.
No,
I bet.
I will always associate wide with Miami and Florida State.
And why is that?
Well, I was there for it, number one.
Okay.
But there was also 3 wide rights.
In the same
Wasn't
game.
there a wide left too?
There was a wide left.
Yeah, that's
but
what I think
so
it
there
was
was
like
wide
either.
right 2, there was a wide left, and there was
Yeah.
a wide right 3.
How many years did this span?
I want to say this was about a 10-year
10-year span?
Yes, but did that become a? You
don't watch college football, do you?
He doesn't watch college sports.
Okay, then-
but did that
then we're done
become
here.
an international
Yes.
phenomenon?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah,
That
that you heard of.
inspired an entire movie series.
An entire movie series?
Yeah. What do you think
Ventura.
Ace
I don't know
Ventura
if- I
Pet
don't know- I don't
Detective
know if
was
Scott
based on?
Norwood. Are you really saying that Scott Norwood is the reason why Ace Ventura exists?
I was saying that
Hey,
it's the reason why
listen.
Ray Finkel exists, and that was the origin of the series.
Oh man.
It's a bit of a stretch, but
Bills,
okay.
Bills
yeah,
fans should have been mad that it was
yeah,
like
if you
Probably
a
wasn't
Dolphins
happy.
kicker. You know?
yeah, if you don't watch college
They
football,
knew what was up.
yeah, if you don't watch college football, then yeah, I could see why
I mean,
that.
I do watch college football.
'Cause that's what
I just
I grew
don't
up on.
obsess over college
See,
football.
I grew up on college football.
Same.
Because I grew up in South Florida. I came up at the time when Miami was the thing.
Lewis and all them.
Before that,
No. As a matter of fact, Jim Kelly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Miami legend.
Yeah, exactly.
So my dad, it was a University of Miami grad, and he had season tickets to the Orange Bowl from I want to say '83
Oh wow.
up and through when we moved up here in '95. He kept his season tickets all the way up until they moved to Joe Robbie Stadium.
Wow.
So for me, it was a bit of a culture shock when I moved here because I grew up on college football.
Yeah.
For heaven's sake, you haven't lived until you got to the Orange Bowl when Notre Dame's in town. You
Oh,
have
yeah, I
grown-ass men calling
Yeah,
you
man.
a convict. So as a kid. So
That's
I
awesome.
thought you were gonna say something worse.
I've
Well,
been
I mean, you
I've been
can.
called worse. I remember when I went to the Orange Bowl for the second to last game ever played there. That was when NC State went down to Miami, and I thought, well, I have to do this. I went to NC State. This is the team that I grew up rooting for in Miami. State ends up winning that game, but I wore State gear that day, and for the first time, I actually experienced like dudes who wanted to fight me. So that was an interesting. And I've seen countless fights at the Orange Bowl, but that was the first time I ever experienced somebody who actually literally wanted to fight me.
I didn't grow up in a place.
Where'd you grow
where
up?
Virginia Beach. So
Okay.
there was no
Wait a
college
minute.
football
High school
or
football.
college basketball.
It's like high school
I was
football.
going to say,
My-
for all the recruiting that comes through there,
Right.
Yeah,
Well, that's-
I know.
yeah,
But there's the
He was a swimmer.
largest
Yeah.
university there was Old
Old
Dominion. They have a
But you didn't even,
college
like-
basketball program, but it's not a major.
you weren't like a Virginia Tech
conference.
fan through like osmosis?
Yeah.
So I was a fan.
Yeah.
but it didn't.
I got you.
Follow it.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
He
You know,
has
it wasn't
one thing
big
that
of a
is
deal.
consistent about Dominic with college sports is he hates Duke.
Okay.
Yes.
That is the thing that he did bring down here. That was a
Well,
positive.
But that was
because
a culture shock.
My best
Yeah, oh, I
friend
bet. From-
was a huge Duke fan, and he was a total dick about it.
Gotcha.
So it's like, anytime Duke played anybody, I wanted them to get crushed.
That's funny.
That's fair.
And he was the
also.
worst about it when the Leitner era.
Oh.
Sure,
Duke-
sure.
Everybody was.
Well, I
all
was
about
gonna
it
say in,
during
fo-
the
in
90s.
football you got your wish back then, but your
Yeah.
your fan friend probably didn't care about college football.
No, he
No,
Yeah.
why would
was-
it do
that
that?
That
He
makes
cared
it
about
worse.
college-
It's like
yeah,
you should at least suffer with your football.
Does
No,
any
but
Duke
he was
fan
also
care
a
about college
Dolphins
football?
fan, so
No. Doesn't any Duke fan care about college football?
Yes, sadly for them because
About 4,000 of them.
they have their own niche audience. You know?
No,
They
it
have-
exists.
It exists.
and
I've
they
been to a
for-
couple of half-empty stadiums before COVID.
And it's
Wildwood.
and I know you're at least a little familiar with the kind of weird dichotomy that exists at like a basketball school
Oh, yeah.
versus like fans that some of them are more ride or die for football and some of them have a bit of not resentful attitude towards basketball but a little bit I'm sure you've encountered this in the Carolina fan base. I know
Absolutely.
people like this that are
Absolutely.
way more into college football and they're annoyed by the basketball program. Okay, we get it.
We
like,
get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pay more attention
You're
to
the
football.
money man.
are more
Right.
successful
Ask,
than the
ask
other.
Carolina,
sure.
ask Carolina football players.
Okay.
About
Yeah,
their-
that can be ask Mac
that's-
before he
that's a source
came
of
out
it.
If
with
they
his-
won a national
you know.
championship or two, maybe people would give a shit.
You ain't wrong.
Listen.
We're talking about two perpetually 500 programs
Yeah.
between Carolina and State. That's why I always get in. That's why I say
They are.
match between the two. but what's funny about college football? When I first moved here, I was not familiar with college basketball at all. College basketball is just not a thing
Because
that
you grew up
grow
with college football.
in South Florida, nobody cares about
pro.
college basketball.
No.
I knew who Duke was. I think there are pictures of me floating around with a Duke hat after they had won in '91.
You should
or
burn
whatever it
that
was.
picture.
I think my dad has all that stuff. So it was
Gonna
cool.
hold
All
them for
right,
ransom.
but yeah, my freshman year at NC State in 1997. I spent more time at Carolina games because that was the Mac Brown year where they broke through.
Yeah.
Gosh, dude.
And my wife and I were dating at the time, and I usually would
Hurts
get
my
the,
heart
I would get
still.
the +1 on the ticket. So I just went to the Carolina games because I just wanted to watch good football.
Yeah, and you
didn't-
saw good football.
And I did right up
Yeah.
until the Florida
For-
State
yeah.
North Carolina game.
Oh.
So when Lauren and I first started to know each other, and because we actually met, like actually started to interact in person at the 2012 ACC tournament.
Is
I think
that-
was that in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Was there one in Atlanta?
that's
right?
the one.
Jeez, okay.
So that was the one that Florida State won. That was a fun.
Yeah.
That was a fun Florida State team to follow. I actually was.
They usually are. They're the same team
Oh, I
every
just love them.
single year.
I love Leonard Hamilton. Who
But
doesn't
that's-
love Lenny
They're-
Ham?
I do. I
Oh.
like Leonard
Yeah.
Hamilton. They're long. They're athletic.
Yeah.
They play great defense, and
Yeah.
they have
And
two
usually-
shooters.
They usually have at least one or two players that I just genuinely love. I think they had Michael Snare.
what I
Michael
liked about
Dookies.
Michael Snare is that 3-point shot he hit in the corner against Duke to
Ah.
beat them at the end of the game. That was
But-
fantastic. That was my favorite Michael Snare moment.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to admit the last Florida State basketball player I know is Charlie Ward.
Oh wow.
Whoa. Okay.
Wow.
Was not expecting you to go there.
Man,
Oh goodness.
that's quite a while.
Hold on. So Charlie
been-
Ward
it's
played
been a
with
minute.
Hubert
Hey,
Davis.
Patrick Williams doing well in the league right now. I think he
Think
is.
so.
Look, I
Jonathan Isaac?
I have to be
He
very
doesn't.
selective with
I
the
don't know
sports
what
I get to
NBA is.
watch because I've
He
got
watched this.
teenagers.
He watched
I
the
have a
Hurricanes.
limited amount of time to do.
Gotcha.
I get it.
Yeah.
Believe
Gotcha.
me,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
run out of bandwidth for all kinds of other
Oh my
stuff
gosh,
that I
yeah.
should know more about. So I
But
said,
what I-
we're right there with you.
But I brought that up though because Lauren, like we said at the start, grew up with college basketball, which is.
Football though too, because we always went to those games, much
did
to
always
my
go to the game, but,
chagrin
like-
at first.
But it's funny to
What
me
games
because
did
I
you
would
go to?
argue you're a bit of a dying breed in this area because, and I've in this as the area continues to expand, and there's not as many people who grew up with
Right.
college basketball. With the transplants, college basketball talk has diminished over time.
For sure.
It used to be
All the time.
It used to be once
Yeah.
once we got to January,
Yeah.
it was pretty much ACC hoops
Over.
between that until the ACC tournament,
Yep.
all the way through the Final Four. We would always go to the Final Four thanks to Westwood One, who carries the games on a Radio Row. We were one of the rare shows that was outside of the top 20 market that got invited because we're like, chances are you're going to have Duke or Carolina in this thing.
Chances
Sure.
are.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would.
I mean,
they
That
would,
was-
so they would be like,
statistically
"Cool,
speaking.
come on
Yep.
down." And like the people who come through was like, "Oh, Tobacco Road." So
Yes.
but what's been interesting over time, it actually hit me in the 2000. It hit me in 2015 when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, and I was doing the show with Adam at the time, and you can back me up on this. How little basketball did we talk that January through the Super Bowl? Like every day was just Cam,
Yeah.
playoffs, and then all of a sudden when Adam and I got on the plane
Yeah.
to come back from San Francisco, we went, "Oh crap.
Yeah.
The Duke Carolina game's on Wednesday."
And you're not even thinking
and
about
we're
it.
not even thinking
Right.
about
What,
it.
this was in
Right.
2012?
This was
No,
15.
2015.
National
and
title.
15 and 1. Yeah.
And that's when it dawned on me
Yeah.
in 2015
Yeah.
Boo.
that things had really shifted
Yeah.
because of the predominance of transplants talking about the NFL on a consistent basis. Even college
like,
football's taken over a little bit more than
not,
college basketball.
Not to be dismissive of Duke locally, but locally they don't move the needle
No.
as much as when Carolina is good.
Absolutely.
And Carolina was good that year, but they weren't Duke good, and so I think that probably also
that played a- that
contributed.
played a
Do you
factor.
think
too.
that parity in college basketball contributes to that, where everybody's not as dominant as those
I-
97, 98 Carolina
Nope.
teams? Or
No, it's the local audience.
Yeah,
the local audience
has
doesn't
shifted.
care
There's
that
definitely
much
some of
about
that.
college as much about college basketball.
and not to go super like
Yeah.
old person take here, and I don't.
You
I'm
are
not
approaching-
saying this
you are
is.
approaching 40, Lauren.
Please.
we can edit that out, Lauren.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
But like, I
problem.
do think, and this is.
keep that rolling.
I'm not saying that this is like wrong. I just think that there's so much more turnover now than there
Yeah.
used to be, and it's hard. I legit will get to the beginning. I used to never have an issue before college basketball season started naming off any team's roster, give or take. Obviously, not always knowing all the freshmen, but oh yeah, this guy's coming back. Now I'm gonna have no clue when we go into like next year. I'm gonna be like, who transferred where again? Like, it's just it. And again, I'm not like they can do what they want. Like, it's all good, but for me, it's made it harder to follow a little bit because I'm like, oh, that guy plays for that team, or
Everybody's
like that
going
guy
through the
doesn't
same
play there
thing, though,
anymore.
right?
Yeah,
At this
everybody's
point.
doing
But
it.
I think that impacts
So-
people's ability to follow it a little
Right,
bit.
because what's 1,500 people on last count in the transfer portal? 1,500
Yeah,
kids.
it's
something silly like that.
I feel like one of those old Northeasterners because I don't think about college basketball,
Yeah.
but I love,
I get that.
I love hockey, and
Sure.
I go to the Bulls games.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's-
Because in baseball and
Yeah.
hockey,
Makes sense.
I'm a Northeastern sports fan. That's what they care
And there's
about.
plenty of people that live here now that
Yeah, that's why the Hurricanes are
But
growing
that's
in
okay.
popularity.
There's options for everybody,
Yep.
and there's plenty of people to support all of
for
the
sure.
programs.
Well, I would argue that the reason why the Carolina Hurricanes are growing in popularity is because they're winning.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that
that's
is true,
definitely a
too.
thing.
So
That
there
is
was
true, for sure.
I would argue that the Carolina Hurricanes were always in a prime position to succeed because this area needs something that can bring everybody together.
Need pro sports.
Well, pro sports, yes, but I also think that hockey is unique in that, much like college, college is regional, and so is the NHL.
Right.
When you combine the two, you've already got this like cultish like following of your favorite college programs. You see a lot of the similarities with how people gravitate towards hockey teams too. These are my special adult children, my large adult sons, and they're and they're going to treat them that way, and you get like very attached to players.
Sure.
It's not all that dissimilar to how we treat college basketball players or college football players. And I think there was a uniqueness where you could go to the building and you could get all the cheap pops from the coaches that would go on the screen, like say "Go Canes" or whatever. You'd hear the Carolina fans, you'd hear the State fans, and then when
Yeah.
Krzyzewski would show up, everybody would boo.
Oh, that's
So
that was a big
smart.
marketing thing. I remember
It's
even
huge.
when
Yeah.
I was still working like at Carolina was like it's okay to wear red. I remember
Yeah.
that campaign when I wrote for what used to be Tar Heel Monthly,
Yeah.
and
it's
I
not okay.
yeah, but it would that would be a big thing.
if
It's
the
okay to
hurricane
wear
red.
red and like
well, yeah,
It's
the
a big
Hurricane
marketing
red,
campaign.
obviously.
Right.
But like in 2002, when they went to the Stanley Cup as a complete surprise and lost to the Red Wings, I remember working and going as a fan too, but mainly working and seeing that was the first breakthrough. Let's bring all the bandwagon people on. That was like, this is a fun event.
Because it was 5 years old at that point.
It was fun. And also, one thing that this town is consistent with is that it loves a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So 2002 was a good time.
It was a good time.
And then the same thing happened in 2006 and 2009. The problem with the Canes, though, was when
2009
it
was a good
wasn't
year.
2002, it wasn't 2006, it wasn't 2009, you're looking at some of the worst years, worst to first. And then there was a weird Stockholm syndrome that occurred between 2009 and 2019, where I give Canes fans a lot of credit that the bottom didn't drop out until about year 5 of that playoff drought.
it was just deja. Every season was the same.
Yeah.
It was just like
It, like they would get to the last week of the season and they would need a win to get to the playoffs.
so they were never bad enough to get good
Yeah.
draft position, but you always knew they were probably going to miss the playoffs.
And I do think the nadir of people just being, what the hell are we doing, was when in between the Kurt Muller, Bill Peters transition, and Peters didn't even understand his own room. Now, as we come to find out, he just ended up being an a-hole, a problematic one at that.
I think it helps to have a Brenda Moore
Is there
around too, as
ever a
opposed to those dudes,
non-problematic
because
a-hole?
those dudes are like, those dudes were
There's-
super boring.
There's lovable a-holes.
There's levels too.
There's levels to that.
Sure.
But to me, like when Bill Peters decided, oh no, I'm the smartest guy in the room and I'm going to have co-captains, like that to me was like, oh my God, do you just want to incinerate the fan base at this point in time? Which is exactly what he did. And then to your point about Brenda Moore and being elevated to coach,
He's
and then now
way
Justin,
more charismatic than Mueller or Bill Peters.
there's also
Just-
a culture. There's also a culture now
Yes.
too. And Justin Williams coming into the fold
I like
adds
him.
to that.
They hired from the Carolina family.
That's
if you
right.
Hey, I see what you did there, Lauren.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so why we're still on hockey before that would have been a perfect transition.
It's fine. I
Like
just
to
wanted to make my
humor,
dumb joke.
but we're sitting here on hockey, and Dominic wanted to talk about free agency in the last. I don't know the
I'm
the
not
last
even
minute.
worried. Let's
Hurricanes
move on
bid.
to what you want to talk about, because we could continue to make this entire thing about hockey. But let's
Yeah.
Your issue with free agency?
no, there's no issue. I just
No.
want to discuss it briefly. But
We could do rapid fire.
We just got the news while we were here
Oh, the
that
Flo-
the
yeah.
right the pickup for the 6th round pick, and then
Ah, yes, another member of Sebastian Aho's House of Wayward Finns.
yeah, exactly.
So with,
exactly.
is that what this is?
Yoni-
His name was extremely hard to pronounce.
Yoni.
Yep.
He's
a big dude.
Hawking
Yeah,
knocks the
6'5".
crap out of you, I think, is pretty much what
Real
he's gonna
quick
do.
on that,
Yeah.
that's simply Hayden Fleury had 2 years left on his contract.
Sure.
He's possibly being exposed to the expansion draft. They know
Yep.
Ron Francis in Seattle is probably going to pick him up, so
Sure.
you might as well get something in return.
Sure. Yeah.
That's
So
what they got.
Chuck, I heard Chuck
And a 6th
Caton
round
did
pick
not
is
take
good.
that job. Is that correct? as the play-by-play.
the Kraken. Aren't they the
in
Kraken?
Seattle?
Yeah.
Well, are they just doing a radio simulcast of the TV?
I don't know. I mean,
'Cause
he
a
said
lot
he
of
was
teams are
interviewing
going
for the
that
job
way.
last
I
I
did
talked
hear
to him.
Oh,
that.
that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Forrest got the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I would imagine they'll probably do a simulcast of
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
I really like Chuck
That's
Caden. He's
the
a
way
nice
it's
guy.
Yeah,
going.
Chuck's the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chuck's a nice cat. So I want y'all's opinion on. Let's go back to college basketball for a second. I want your opinion on
Dom
Hubert
is so
Davis.
disappointed now.
He is. He'll
I'm
be
going to
fine.
sit here and
He's
drink
like,
bourbon.
So Lauren, what do you think? Hubert Davis hire? Good, bad, indifferent?
I wouldn't say indifferent. I definitely wouldn't say bad. I think it makes sense given the circumstances that they're in right now. As you talked about, the transfer portal is crazy right now.
And we just lost Walker Kessler. We
Sure.
found that out before we came on air.
And
Auburn.
Yeah. What? Bruce, don't even get me started.
Closer
on
to
Bruce.
It's
Sure.
I think he's literally got a friend on the team. I'm pretty sure. So that's
That's exactly
that's the reason, right? Isn't
I-
his best friend on
there
that
was,
team?
There
yeah.
was speculation that his best friend, who's on the Auburn
Yeah.
team, there were going to be a package deal on the transfer market, but it looks like he's just going to go play
Because
with
some
his
people
boy at
were
Auburn.
like
Yeah.
some people were like, "There's no way he'll go to Auburn. He'll probably go to Gonzaga or something."
Yeah.
But
After you just saw Mark Few gag a championship.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh, for the
God.
second time. So Hubert Davis is inheriting not a mess necessarily, but
no,
it's a
and there's still a lot. Like that's the thing. Like there's still
team
so
in
much we don't know
transition.
what this team is going to look like.
right. We
because-
have all the guards and none of the big men.
Although, are we sure that the guards are going to be?
Is Leaky Black the tallest player on the team?
No.
Well-
yes. Well, unless
Oh
you
wait, because
consider
Walker Miller transferred. I forgot about
Right,
that.
but who-
Sterling Manley transferred.
what's the new guy again?
Oh,
he's
I
6'8".
forgot. He's
So we're,
6'8".
so
The
we're
guy from
talking
Virginia.
a lot about
Oh,
like,
McCoy.
Justin
Justin
McCoy. He's
McCoy.
6'8".
We're talking a lot as far as the individual
Right.
units on the team,
Yeah.
and those are going to ebb and flow over time.
Oh, yes,
That's
for
the
sure.
thing.
But
right.
go back to
That's-
what does he do for the program in the long term?
Well, and the only reason I even brought up the transfer portal is because I think Carolina needed to do something quickly, and
Agreed.
they could not afford to sit around and wait for maybe we can really go after Mark Few or whoever after the champion. Like they
Sure.
needed to just go.
Okay.
And I think also they understood the fact that they're former players. It's very important to them that
Very.
you go inside the family, so to speak, and get a former player. And I think this obviously will lead to the least amount of transition. And this is somebody that I know Roy feels very strongly about. And at a certain point, it's if that's what Roy wants, if that's what
It was
former
his pick,
players
right?
want. I don't
So-
know anything about Hubert Davis as a coach because none of
Nobody
us can.
does.
Like we're not there. We don't. I know he's
He
coached
w-
JV.
He was the lead recruiter on
I
Cole
know-
Anthony. He was the lead
Yes,
recruiter.
he's done a good job
right,
recruiting. I know that.
right.
I know
Yeah,
that
on
when he
Leaky.
talks, he's very compelling and
Very much.
interesting and likable
Yep.
and charismatic and all of that good stuff. So that's all very good. Do I know anything about him as a coach? Nope.
No, nobody does.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Because
nobody
So-
a lot of the decision calculus you've discussed was short-term decision. So
And I think
what's going to
that's-
be good
yeah.
for the next couple of years based
Yes.
upon the transition?
That's
of
my
the team
opinion
flow.
on it.
Right.
If he works out, awesome. Then
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
all good. But if he doesn't, you can reevaluate in 4 years or whatever it is.
I'll disagree with the notion it's a short-term thing.
No, it's just saying that a lot of the
I think
points
that
that were made
went
were
into
about,
the
about
decision
short-term decision
in
calculus.
terms of like how
Not that-
quickly they had to make it.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think the reason why it was so short was because Hubert Davis was always going to be the guy.
I think he was. Roy.
I'm not outright completely dismissing the transfer aspect of it. The
Right.
reason why I think it went so short is because take an assessment of your coaching candidates.
Yeah, no doubt. If you're staying within the family,
Roy wants to go that way.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody else that's super obvious
Yeah.
at all.
There's
in
no-
the
there's
Carolina
no
family.
way- no.
It's only Wes, and
Not even Wes.
King Rice.
So you know you.
Not
I
even
heard a
look,
lot
look,
of scuttle about Rasheed
we've
Wallace.
got we've got to
Listen,
the point now
this
where
was driven by me, and I will continue to drive that bus.
yeah.
What, Rasheed Wallace?
Yeah.
I like Rasheed. So
Well,
look,
apparently, I don't know if he ever got his degree, but apparently you have to even be an
oh,
assistant.
Sidney
he never
Lowe,
came back, huh?
Sidney Lowe got a quick degree and got to be the coach.
Oh yeah,
so
that
it's
wouldn't
whatever.
take him long, but
So
He'll
this
come
is
back on
all
stack.
this is all overthinking the situation. It's fairly obvious Roy Williams wanted Hubert Davis to be the next head coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as being in the program for 9 years, seeing success of Juwan Howard with no prior head coaching experience go to Michigan and have success. Patrick Ewing, no prior head coaching experience, go to Georgetown, started to have
his
success. And then you can
success is debatable for him, but yeah.
well, for Patrick Ewing.
They went on that run, but that's about it.
Yeah, but-
they have not been very good.
You
But
know,
yeah.
I can tell you a lot of ACC teams that would like to go on a run.
Let me
Well,
ask
of
you a
course
question.
they
Do you
would.
think?
But my
just
point
saying.
is, without any obvious, I know people bring up Wes Miller, but are you telling me Wes Miller's ready for the big time?
I didn't know.
I
Not
think he
necessarily.
needs a transition. That's part of why I say.
But he
I'm
could
not
get.
right.
He's
I'm
been a
not-
coach for a decade, a head
Listen,
coach.
This isn't me saying it's. I'm not saying that they're thinking about this when they're doing this, but I think if Wes is able to get a job in the in between the two, at least,
Like at Auburn.
Something like that. Something that's
Why
a
wasn't he
bigger
the Wake
deal.
Forest coach?
Right. That's a
'Cause
good
he's
question
not-
because he's a
yeah.
Carolina
Maybe
guy.
he should be the
Well-
Notre Dame coach.
That didn't work out last time. So let's stay away from that.
I don't know. It's pretty easy to me. If he wanted that Wake Forest job, he could have gotten that damn Wake Forest job.
I just don't.
I
think
don't
he-
know.
like, I
That's
don't
not
think
the
he-
no. That's
what-
not
but
the
that's-
issue.
But then that's
Yeah.
it's
Because
his
his
dad.
dad is a Wake Forest guy big time. So that's not the issue.
Okay.
The issue there, in my opinion, is that if you're going to step up, if you're Wes Miller, that ain't the one you want to step up to because that
fine.
job is not an
No,
easy job. And he
that's
knows
fine.
that better than anybody.
But
Yeah.
the idea that Hubert Davis is any more of a risk than any other name that
For
we
sure.
just mentioned, I think is something that
No.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah,
So,
I
well,
agree.
let
I
me
don't
ask
know
you
if
a
what's
question.
going to work out, but what's to tell? How are you telling me Wes is?
No,
I don't
but-
know that.
Right,
Chris Holt-
we
and,
just
then-
don't know.
and then if you go outside of the family,
Yeah.
who's out there that really is
Besides
a
Fuse.
surefire?
Brad
I don't
Stevens.
even know if Fuse is a thing.
Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens is never going back to college.
Yeah, he would be stupid too.
So that's imagine trying to thread the needle of getting a sitting NBA coach
Yeah.
to take your college job with all the contract machinations
But it is
that were taking
the
place.
college job.
Oh, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But the problem is, there's no the coach out there to
That's
take
true.
it. There
Right.
is no Roy Williams.
Yeah.
That's obvious.
That's the sad
to
part.
take
Right.
it.
There was always an obvious candidate in the
Yeah,
past.
always.
When they've had
Well,
all
then
these
let me
searches,
ask you this. You brought up Juwan Howard. I think Phil Martelli makes a huge difference in that staff, and I don't know if Hubert's going to have a Phil because I don't know if Steve Robinson is staying
what I'm
because they haven't
hearing
announced that yet, right?
Seems to be that he's trying to court people from different eras of Carolina basketball.
He already got Jeff Lebo to say yes.
Right.
King Rice he offered,
which is
and King
that's
Rice
an
has been
interesting
coach at
one. I didn't
Monmouth
know
for
that
how
one,
many
'cause
years?
That's an interesting. Right. That's one that if I were King Rice, I might be like,
But
if I didn't know you better, I might say a bad word. to
because
you.
we're
Take
together
that.
and they were friends.
Yeah, of course.
And,
So
and
he
all
probably
the, and all
wouldn't
the
say
things,
that, but
right.
I know what he wants to keep Sean May.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to bring Sean up, and I hope keep Kendall.
He
No.
already let him go.
Kendall's gone.
That one surprised me. I'm with you on that one. And that's the thing. We have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. We have no idea what these assistant coaches are really like.
If there's one
you
thing
know.
that I will push back on, I don't like this idea that you have to go and this is not Star Wars. You're not trying to find balance in the Force. You're going to try to go and find
understand
the
that.
best coaches.
I understand that.
So you bring up Phil Martelli.
Yeah.
What's Phil Martelli's connection to Michigan?
I don't think he has one.
None.
well, but that's
But
not,
he probably has a connection to Jawan.
he's
at some
talking
point,
about
right?
I know what he's
No, no,
saying.
Like
I know
how
what
he
you're saying.
helps
The wizened assistant. And if
Get
you're
the-
not
all
going to
right.
have Steve,
So
then what do you?
is different
right.
than any other position in the country
Why?
because it's more of a culture more than a job.
Because Clint's a fan.
Dean Smith wasn't born in
I
Chapel
get that,
Hill,
but
right?
he's the one that created that culture.
Come
I
from.
understand what you're
Emporia
saying.
State
you can put your own mark on that culture
Sure.
from an outside force.
Absolutely, you
Good
can.
coaches will go and get the ones who they know will help them. I'll even invoke Herb Sendek started to turn the corner around when he got
Arizona State.
No, Larry Hunter. No, was it Larry Hunter? Yeah,
I
it
think
was Larry
so.
Hunter from Western Carolina. R.I.P.
Godfrey's best years
so-
were with Bobby Lutz on
Bobby
staff.
Lutz was on
Yeah.
staff.
So-
hey,
so-
you like Leonard Hamilton? When Leonard Hamilton really made the
Stan.
turnaround?
Mm-hmm.
When Stan Jones came
Yeah.
on to basically handle the offensive stuff. You don't need the Carolina family thing. Just go get the guys that.
It's
That's
true,
what
though,
Hubert
Joe.
said he's going to do, though. So that's
No,
I mean,
But
he
it's
said if you don't have a
the-
connection.
that's what I'm saying. He said he's going to stick to the family, so that's why we're talking.
Well,
about that,
okay. So it's a
those
mob
types of
mentality,
names.
right?
We're spending a lot of time talking about
I
just the Carolina coaching situation, and I know that's very, very clean. But this is a question. Every time we talk about college basketball, I ask this, and I haven't got a satisfactory answer to this question.
Okay.
Is the ACC no longer the dominant conference in college basketball? Because it seems like right now they're mediocre across the
now?
board. Well, right now, but
This
You mean like in
Big Ten,
college
probably,
basketball
right?
or in both
far as
sports? Or
just
in
no,
general?
just college basketball.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the thing about it is the Big Ten had it right there for them. That's,
Yeah.
At a certain point, and yes, do Carolina and Duke win most of the ACC titles?
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
But at the same time, if you have, as a league, haven't had a team win one for 21 years, that's bad. And in college football, it'd be even worse. We don't do that with college basketball as much because of the randomness of the tournament. I get it.
that. Well, when was
But that's not a good, especially when you get however many teams in. They got 9.
Yeah, I
we
mean,
get one to the
a
Final
ton.
Four.
Admittedly,
It's a bad look, man.
It was not
is
a
a bad look,
vintage.
I
It
agree
was
with
not
that.
a vintage ACC year.
No,
Yeah,
it
for
wasn't
sure,
a good year.
for sure.
No.
Is
But it was
that-
also
is that
very
a COVID
different.
thing, or is
It
that
could
just
be.
because
I don't know.
It's not-
the
It's not a COVID thing, Dom.
I don't know. I don't know.
about that. I don't know.
There's
that-
also been we're going through what any league will go through or any sport will go through, and that's
Yeah.
we're transitioning off of legendary coaches.
Right. Some of the older ones are.
We're about 5 to 6 years removed when you looked at all all the freaking like the Hall of Fame coaches that were in the ACC,
Sure.
along with an up and coming guy like Tony Bennett at Virginia.
I love Tony Bennett.
So
Tony's great.
I thought you hated Tony Bennett.
No, I like Tony Bennett.
So
I
you
just
got
like
Roy.
Virginia basketball.
I just like Virginia.
You got Roy retiring.
Yeah.
We don't know how much longer Mike Krzyzewski has.
Fingers crossed.
Jim Boeheim has
Jim
kind of-
Boeheim's outlasting all of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's going to be there as long as Buddy's
Like,
there.
Oh, he's got
Baltimore.
one
Oh,
more
he'll
year,
be there
right?
longer than that.
Okay.
I'll
then-
put money on
and
it.
Boeheim,
Yeah.
Boeheim is oddly
He loves
morphed
Greensboro.
into this team that you don't expect anything in the regular season,
And they-
and then
yeah.
they come
Oh.
to ruin everything.
then they do
later.
everything.
It's
So,
hard
yeah,
to
it's definitely
it's hard
some
to
of
get
that for
ready
sure.
for
Sure,
a
it
day
gets
or
it.
two.
It's
right.
jarring when you're in the ACC. You're used to it
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
more.
Yeah.
and so,
Play him
yeah.
once or twice a year.
So there's some transition stuff that happens to every conference. I've seen this in football too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an uncharacteristic down year. I think the ACC is going to transition into all the other transfer stuff that we've seen that other conferences have to deal with. It'll be fine.
That's the equalizer a little bit, though, right? Is that we're seeing this across college basketball. Where like
Yeah.
tons of guys are transferring. They end up in different leagues or sometimes within their own league, and it's just
Well, they're
who's
saying May
playing for
10th
Team
is
X.
the last day.
Yeah,
That's what they're saying, right?
I
is
think
that
so.
still the-
Well, I know that it is for football because I know Mac
Yeah.
was referencing that.
Right.
Mac Brown was referencing that about we got to make sure that after the spring game, like everybody's still happy
I would
because we
just
know that somebody
assume-
could still transfer.
I would just assume that it would be on the same schedule. Is that not a thing that they would do? It would just be split between college basketball and college
Probably
football?
split,
That's really weird.
but
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so we talked about this before we started. What do you guys think about the Dave Dorn extension to 2025?
Sense.
From the state guy. We'll start with the state guy first.
I mean, it's
Ask state fans if he's a state guy because he gets worse.
I think state fans have actually come to a better understanding of what I do than, say, Carolina fans do.
Well, that's probably
Oh,
true.
for you, yeah, that's true.
I think state fans have understood. Like, I talk about state the way they talk about state, just out loud. I don't. This isn't a thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's a couple things are going on here. One, Dave Dorn's contract was going through 2023. For recruiting purposes, you cannot have a coach with a contract that goes until 2023. That
Sure.
could be used against you.
Unless you're pretty sure you're firing him, and they're definitely not.
And they're not going to
definitely
fire
firing
him.
him.
There's no reason to fire him. Number two, and this is something that Joe Giglio, my co-host, pointed out. Debbie Yao, the previous AD, was a real big fan of bonuses in contracts.
Okay.
Oh, did you win 9 games? Here's a $150,000 bonus. Did you win the division? Here's a whatever bonus. She loved bonuses.
Don't bring up divisions when you're talking about them.
Boo Corrigan, the new AD, does not like these contracts. So he recently did this with Kevin Keats, and we didn't really think much of it, but a lot of that was restructuring how the deal
Okay,
works.
that makes sense.
More guaranteed money. Like, it's going to work. And Kevin Keats ain't going to sign that contract unless there's something in it for him, but there's less of this bizarre bonus structure stuff.
Okay.
And it looks like that's how things are playing out with this new Doran contract. All it's doing is extending the ultimate terms of the deal just by 2 more years. Now, if you wanted to get into what do I think of Dave Doran as a coach, okay, that's a separate conversation. But as far as this contract is concerned, it's a nothing burger. This is just business
Yeah.
as usual
But
at a
does he
college program.
deserve to be extended if it wasn't the right thing to do for recruiting?
I think so.
Yeah.
After this past
After
season,
this-
yeah.
he did a hell of a job this
Sure.
past season. And they've
Yeah.
also identified this upcoming year as a year in which, not that they're going to win the Coastal, but like they could win another
the
8 or
Atlantic.
9 games this upcoming season.
Okay.
So they're really into their defense. They've got depth on defense.
Yeah.
And really the X factor comes down to, can Devin Leary take that step that so many people believe he can take and obviously stay healthy?
What's
His
the
What about-
expectation for state football? What
Probably
what
eight
Like
do
in
they
games.
hope
general
for?
or like this year?
What? No, just in general. What
So,
do they hope for on a year-to-year basis?
To
Because
beat
it
Florida
seems
State to win a
Complicated
bowl
question.
game, and
I just hear 8 or 9 wins as that's awesome. Okay, great.
Dom, as long
That's
as
hoping
it's-
for
The
mediocrity.
thing is, though, like
That's
that's,
not-
not
I'm-
mediocrity in
but
this
that's
college
not-
football.
That's not
Yeah, it's
mediocrity.
college football.
It's really
It
not.
seems- it seems
The
to
best
be.
you can
It's
hope
not.
for if you're not one of the perennial programs that are getting all the recruits
Right.
is you can hope you catch lightning in a bottle and get to 10.
I think
that's
that's
it. Like,
I think
that's
that's
the
funny.
feeling.
I think that's funny that the general attitude for something like that is mediocrity. That just sounds to me like that's like opposing fan talk, right?
Well, no, I'm not an opposing fan.
No,
just
I know.
don't,
No,
like,
but when I
think,
hear that- when
don't they want to compete for a national championship?
Sure,
Yes.
everybody would love to.
Well,
I would
right.
love to have $1 million,
Yeah.
but I ain't gonna.
I would love to have my hair back,
Like,
but
the-
that's
the-
not happening.
The juggernaut that has been built, like the juggernauts that have been built at some of these places, especially in Alabama. Alabama is even
Yeah.
probably a level above even a Clemson, to be honest.
Yeah,
and
oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
for
think
sure.
it was. I didn't think the disparity was that wide, but I think it's pretty wide. Like, it's-
95% of college football programs should kill
Yeah.
for a team that wins on average 8 times
games,
a year.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when I saw
So it
that
gets to a bowl
tossed
game.
out
So-
disparagingly, I was like,
So to answer your question, what are the
Not by you.
I don't
expectations?
know what that is.
To answer your question, what are the expectations for NC State? I would also make the same argument for North Carolina.
I can tell you what my expectations are.
uh-oh.
For what,
have
North
any
Carolina?
For Carolina.
But
yeah.
don't do this because you know
Which
better.
is what?
No, my expectation
Okay,
at this year alone, it would be 10 wins.
Okay. But
That's-
here's the thing. They've built to that point.
Sure.
Right.
So, State and Carolina are in a position where can you keep it in between the ditches for 3 years and build towards a year in which you can make that jump? And State has done that from time to time. The problem is they're not patient with their coaches to allow them to have the second time. So my argument with Doran has always been he's not the most lovable coach,
Right.
but there's a stability about him that they can build back up to a point where they can have a breakthrough season.
Okay.
And the thing is, you can always do way worse than Dave Doran. Just try it, and you'll
Sure.
find
And you'll
out like
find
they
out. Seen
have.
it.
Okay. I really don't understand this. So, the college coaches are getting paid millions of dollars. They might not be getting paid Saban money, but
Right.
No,
They're-
nobody's.
Lord
but they're
knows.
getting paid a lot of money. And obviously, like you said, they're not getting enough time. A lot of college coaches aren't getting enough time to actually develop a program. So the expectation seems to be a lot higher than mediocrity. So why can't other schools develop programs like Alabama, like Clemson, like Ohio State, who seem to be constantly competing for national championships? Why are those the only 3 schools that and
a good
Oklahoma
Money?
seem to be? Well, every school has some
Yeah, but
money.
Oklahoma's here that way.
I don't get it. And
I'll
as
tell,
a
you
college
something,
person,
I'll tell you
so-
something that Steve Logan, who used to do radio with us back in the day, the old ECU coach, he always said it was a want-to factor. It's a want-to factor. Do you want your program to be this? But that's not always a recipe for success.
Texas A&M will be an interesting test case in this way because
will.
they
Both
have
teams in
$1
Texas.
billion
Yes.
to spend. But especially A&M has so much money, it's unreal.
It has a lot of money. too.
Texas does too, but
Yeah.
M apparently has all these like oil money boosters.
yeah.
They're the
Yeah.
ones
Sure.
that gave Jimbo Fisher what was like 70
They're
something million
private school.
guaranteed, all guaranteed.
Private school.
So
That's unheard of.
there's 2 factors at play
It's
here. There's the
ridiculous.
want to factor and the money that goes behind with it. So all those schools that you just mentioned, there's a want to and the money that goes back
The
with
money
it.
is a big
However,
one.
as Lauren pointed out with Texas A&M or Texas, who's wandering through the wilderness post Mac Brown, trying to find the next coach, that gets to issue number 2.
Basketball and football.
There's only so many Nick Sabans out there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only so many Urban Meyers out there. You're shrugging your shoulders like these coaches aren't geniuses. Like we see this in the NFL too. We'll put it on your level.
Nick Saban wasn't a genius
In
in,
the
the
NFL,
NFL.
that's different.
Because like
Why?
Lovie Smith.
Because certain
Think about what
levels of
Lovie Smith
coaches-
just did. Like Lovie Smith
Yeah.
just went and stunk it up at Illinois, and then basically complained about, they don't run XYZ in the college.
Yeah.
Okay, then don't coach
Then
at the
don't
college
coach at
level if you
college.
don't know how to coach.
Because
at
the college
college.
NFL are
It's
two
different. It's
completely
very
different sports.
Yeah, very
They're
different.
two totally different sports.
Yeah.
With totally different
'Cause you
things.
There's
gotta
way more-
recruit,
there's
you
way
gotta
more,
worry about
like-
academics.
There's way more similarity at the pro level, not in a bad way. It is what it is, right? Like those guys can run the same types of the similar
Yeah,
types
like
of
if you
schemes,
want
and
to
it's
if you want to
fine.
make an argument about Urban Meyer and whether he's going to be successful at Jacksonville, this is a guy who didn't realize free agency. There was no honor amongst free agency. That's a problem to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Urban Meyer as a
He's
college
got a lot
coach,
of
I ain't
problems
putting it
that I
past him.
could-
I'm
Right.
not like, look. To say Nick Saban didn't work out in the NFL, there's a variety of reasons why you might not work out in the NFL. The organization might not be very good. You got ownership issues. You got all sorts of stuff.
Salary cap.
Salary caps, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's like a lame, I don't know.
Yeah, but could Nick Saban go to UVA and build a
Yes.
national
Yes.
championship?
Yes,
program?
because
Look
he
at
if
his
they had
track
the
record.
money, if they had the money to invest
Absolutely.
into the
money.
Yeah.
If EA's got money though.
Yeah, but not that kind of money.
Not Alabama money.
And plus, they're too principled.
That's the other
That's
thing
the
too.
big
they have higher academic standards.
They'd be like, "Are we lowering our
I
standards?"
guess
And Nick
they would
Saban would
have
be
to
like,
go
"Get
to
out of here."
Nebraska.
If-
Hasn't
Yes.
been anything
Yes.
in a while.
Yeah.
But
And they would be
Yeah.
very thirsty for something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's 100%. So what do you guys think about this Sam Howell for Heisman stuff?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I got to be careful here. But
No, you don't.
listen, I have the bona fides here a little bit because I
Yeah.
grew up going to Carolina football games.
Sure.
And I think you know this as well as I do. Like, hope with Carolina football is a dangerous thing.
Yes, it is.
That's all I'm trying to
It
say.
really
I am
is.
not saying this to rain on anyone's parade.
Yeah, speaking of Virginia.
I'm not.
Yeah,
But you know it's true.
it is true.
Like,
And it's sad.
They're gonna have
maybe
a
this
senior-
will endear me to Carolina football, or Carolina Twitter in general.
Yeah.
But I still remember the feeling as like, however old I was, probably like what, 14 or something like that, 13 or 14, when they played Florida State in that game, and we were there the whole day in the lead up. And I remember thinking, like, this is the moment. This is it. This is where it happens. And then just getting kicked in the face.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is as good as it ever gets, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. And then Mac Brown left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
And to be fair, if you want to endear yourself to Carolina Twitter, just start a GoFundMe to bring back Spankies. Okay.
Oh, that's a good
I
idea.
miss Spankies.
See-
That's a good spot.
Everything on Franklin Street's closed.
I probably
now.
bring back Spankies, but listen, I'm
good.
just.
Can we get a
That's
shout
You
out?
shut your mouth.
That's a really good
I-
look.
Bring back
I
hams.
love me some.
Ooh,
okay.
ham?
Actually, can we just bring back the original Pepper's Pizza and the shit?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I tell you guys a funny story
Listen.
about Pepper's Pizza?
Uh-oh.
So I used to work. at
I've
the
heard
music
this
store
one.
right next door.
Yeah.
Okay. We shared a wall with Peppers.
Right.
Okay. So Julius Peppers came into our store one day.
Peppers came to Peppers.
He used to come into our
Oh
store all
yeah,
the
that's
time.
the thing. That's
Yeah.
the thing that would happen because
Yeah.
he was in school when I was.
Yeah, he used to come into our store all the time. So you guys don't know how music stores were set up. You walk into that store, you have a little aisle down the middle. You got CDs going up this way, CDs
Yeah.
going up this way. So you have a little tree, right? So this dude, there's a rat that lived in with the walls between Peppers and our
sorry,
store. This is absolutely
And
a true
rats
story.
don't eat CDs.
This is absolutely true story. So there was a rat that lived, and we tried to catch him so many times. So Julius Peppers was in the store one
I
day.
know that. Whatever.
That
Add to the
hence is
flavor.
why
Oh,
they're
good.
closed. All right, so Julius Peppers was in the store one day, and we were sitting there talking, and it was new release day, so we had all these empty boxes, and we heard the rat. It came out from under one of the little end caps. Julius grabbed the top of the little CD rack, hurdled this sumbitch like 6 feet. Hurdled it. I threw him the box. He slammed it on top of the rat.
Awesome.
It was a great day.
That's a Hall of Famer.
It was
Dude.
fantastic.
I'll never forget what it was like to see him around on
He's
campus.
fucking
like,
huge.
That's the only guy that we'd see around on campus. We'd all be like, "Oh my God, it's Julius Peppers."
Yeah, you should have.
It's Julius Peppers.
He's a Hall of Famer. You heard about Keyshawn Silver? Came in at 255.
Uh-huh.
Now he's 306,
I
and he
did.
wants to play.
Wants to play
basketball.
which I was intrigued by on a number of levels.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Mac was talking about that, and I'm like, 306, huh?
Yeah. 255 came in last year.
Yeah.
255 gained 50 pounds.
And what
There's
position
other.
does he play?
I think it's Des Evans wants
Yeah.
to play as well. And I
Yep.
think there's at least one other that
Yep.
that does.
All right.
And yeah,
You're not
we'll see.
gonna skip out on the question.
Okay, so no, I like Sam a lot. I think Sam is special.
Yes.
Like I legit do. If I have concerns for Sam, it's both that there's questions at the running back spot,
Yes.
and those are big ones for me because I think Javonte was special. Javonte Williams was
Man, if he
super
coulda-
special guy.
It made me so happy to watch him every Saturday.
But that's not to say that Sam can't make something out of. They've got plenty of talent left at receiver.
Josh Downs is going to be
Yeah.
electric.
I think
Bo
like what we
Corrales.
saw in the bowl game was really impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
From them because I thought honestly, I thought that
I
they
thought we
would
were
get
gonna get
crushed.
blown
I thought they
out.
would get crushed because I was like to miss those two. There's no way.
Two.
Yeah,
You got
more than two. But like
Daz
on the
and
offensive end too, especially with
Diame
Michael,
and
without
Michael
Michael
Carter
and
and
Javonte,
Javonte
that was the big one for me
Chasserette.
because the other running backs have barely even played, and so
Right.
you're like, okay, there's no way. And to go against a defense like that had a lot of talent and to do what they did,
Played
like I
well.
was. Yes, Sam has a lot of moxie.
I like the kid.
I think he's definitely different, and I think he's special. What will it translate to? I don't know. I think they just need to not do the dumb thing and lose to the team they shouldn't lose to.
Yeah.
And then he'll have as good a
Wake
chance as
Forest.
anybody. But that's whoever.
So
Virginia, like
if we
whoever.
played Wake Forest
That's
this
not
year,
saber-
okay, so we play a terrible schedule this year.
That's good.
Terrible schedule. Yes, which is good because we're going to start out higher in the rankings, in the national rankings.
Okay.
It's going to give us a better chance to make a better bowl
Yeah.
as long as we beat Clemson. And we have a stretch where we play
Wait.
Duke, Florida State, and
They play
Miami.
Clemson?
You know, if we have to
Oh.
play Clemson in the
Excuse me.
championship,
No,
that would be
but-
the only time we played Clemson.
But see,
So
don't do this though. Just wait.
I know.
But I know you're not.
I
I'm
know.
just saying.
I bought season tickets.
Listen.
Oh wow.
I know.
I get
It's
it.
the first time I've ever done it.
I think North Carolina is going to have the same exact year that they had last year.
You think? You
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Really?
I hope for their sake that's not true because that would.
I mean, if
suck,
we
but
can
yeah.
go 10 and 2, 10 and 3, 13 games, 12 games.
They actually,
13 games.
my concern actually wouldn't be with Sam Howell specifically. Actually, it would be with Phil Longo.
That's fair.
And
It's fair though, Lauren.
I do think there are times though they got rid of the Larry Fedora. Like, what the hell are
my
you
gosh.
doing right
Worst
now?
play caller
Right.
besides Bill O'Brien.
That's
I've
what I'm
ever
saying.
seen.
There are times.
Ooh, wait,
There were
wait.
times with North Carolina last year where I wondered, what are we doing here? What is your philosophy?
Sure.
Why? Explain to me your process. Why you decided to go with this in the red zone?
100%.
That's not on
understand
Sam Howell.
No.
I'd be curious to see what kind of if they reassess how they went at red zone decision making, or even early
That's definitely
or
fair.
early play calling decisions. Like, yo, you got this dude. Sweep the leg now.
Sweep the leg, Johnny. That's
I
right.
never understood why they would start out conservatively sometimes.
No.
You got to go out there and
Well-
start hot. But, hey, look,
I think
they know
it's-
more than I do.
I
so.
always want somebody to go out there. I always want Sam Howell to go out first play to be play action.
Carolina's
night
going to win.
zone,
Carolina's
you know?
going to win football games 56-50.
Yeah,
Like that's how
the
you have to
problem.
go and win.
Actually be
I think we're
significantly
gonna be
better
actually.
next year.
They said so. I heard
Like significantly.
who was it
Well,
that
let's hope
said?
so.
I think it was.
The offense I still have questions about, not Sam, but the running backs and the offensive
Sure.
line.
I think
Sure.
it was. I think it was Ross Martin that said, if Sam Howell wasn't on this team, the defense would be the talk. Right
Fair.
now.
Fair.
And I hope
Yeah.
that's the case.
Yeah, that's not unfair at
let's
all.
hope so.
I hope that's the case because we need some of that in our life because we haven't had that.
That's
in
the
a
thing too.
very
Is
long
in
time.
that bowl game, what impressed me almost as much as anything until it got to the fourth quarter. I think they got like a little tired out.
Yeah.
Was the defensive
Sure.
youth and the
Yeah.
talent that they. I was like, whoa, hello! I didn't know that guy could do that. Or
I'm
whatever.
sorry, I zoned out.
I mean, it,
Isn't
It's
it
the third
Marley?
period,
well,
right?
I'm still trying to figure out what her name is.
She's on IMDb.
That, what,
Is this filmed at Lake Norman?
no, that's in Winston-Salem, I believe.
The lake?
The lake is?
no, that
The Marley drug is based in Winston-Salem.
Right.
We
Where
don't
is
know
this
is
filmed?
where
Winston-Salem.
the commercial.
I'm sure this isn't
For
Lake
everybody
Norman.
that's
No.
wondering, watching the Hurricanes game in
Yeah.
the background, and
Why wouldn't
it's
you
the
film this at
start of
Lake
the
Norman?
third
You should.
period with the Marley drug
Look,
commercial.
yeah.
All I know is that they picked the perfect person for this commercial.
Yeah, of course they did. It, like the late 30s, early 40s, something.
She's got an IMDb page, and
but she's from Winston-Salem too, I think.
I don't know that,
I think
but
I've been trying to find her just
for
to
real?
find out who the hell she
It
is.
Yeah.
looked a lot like Norman for sure.
Because my contention is she's probably done some softcore.
actually no, she hasn't. We
No,
looked it up.
okay. You will have to share afterwards, but.
So
Your attention gets dragged away
It
during the
does.
course of
It's
that
an effective
commercial.
ad.
Yeah,
It
I bought
Joe.
anything
I asked
from
I
that.
asked my 13-year-old, what do you think this commercial's for?
Yeah, and
And he's like,
Bathing suits.
He's like, I don't know. He's like, no, just guess. What do you think this commercial is for? He goes, hair restoration.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
And my response to him was, it does restore something, but it's not hair.
not anything you need to worry about.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, what's your
Yes.
prediction for Carolina wins? Was
I think like
Football or basketball?
football?
They'll be the same.
Wow.
I'm not going to go that
Let's
far into
Joe.
the pessimism hole. It's not the maximum amount of pain. You don't understand this.
No.
It's not the maximum amount of pain for Carolina football fans if they don't get close
That
without
is
falling
true.
short. So
That
I'm
is
going to
true.
go 9.
Okay.
Because they'll be the
sounds about
one
right.
dumb one.
So 9
that
and
go,
4.
why if they hadn't
Yeah.
lost this
So
one?
we lose
Yeah.
to Wofford at the end of the year.
That's why I
Okay.
said. That's why I said Carolina's going to have the same exact
Wait.
year they
You'll
had
lose to
last year.
ECU.
And
I'm
what you go?
gonna-
Why did you like?
Oh, don't say-
Can you explain how you lost that Florida State game?
No.
again?
Like that
It was
game.
the-
Okay, I
It-
referenced.
I
I,
know.
shouldn't have
It
piled on
sucks.
Virginia. I should have referenced
No,
the
Florida
Florida
State.
State game. They made no.
No business.
It didn't. We
no
had no
business
business
that game.
losing that game. That is 1,000,000%.
That was the only
I put that one on
FBS team they
Phil
beat.
Longo, too.
Yeah, I do too. As I said, man, he's better than Larry Fedora. I'll give him that.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, I'll
no,
give
he's
him
an
that.
upgrade. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but
Larry Fedora was terrible.
I think Phil, to be fair to him, had a great problem in theory in that yes, you have this special quarterback in Sam, but you also have 2 dominant running backs.
run the dang
So-
ball.
Man,
Right, but you said he
on
started off
every
too
freaking
conservative.
time.
Like you
No, I'm
have
talking
those
about-
2
I was
guys.
actually
Like
talking about red zone situations.
well, but
sometimes.
yeah, I'm just saying, like you have those 2 guys.
Yeah.
You also don't want to get too cute. So there's a balancing act you
I mean,
have
it
to
wasn't.
do.
It wasn't. What's his face with Larry Fedora? Who was the running back?
Oh,
now,
Larry.
now the name
Oh,
escapes me.
Gio.
he was
at the-
225, man. I just don't
Plus, I'm
understand
concerned with Phil Longo because he DM'd me.
What?
it. Uh-oh.
Wait.
He no, I don't even follow him, and he DM'd me.
I think I heard
some,
you talk about
like
this.
hype thing. Carolina
Yes,
football's
I
come
did
like,
hear
it's
you
like
talk
why are
about
you
this.
why are you DMing me?
I'm
Okay,
the
so
wrong
at
one.
Pitt. Well, there you go.
Oh yes,
That's
That-
the
that's-
job.
yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Can we go back to Gio for a minute? I
love
love
He just
that you
signed
brought
with
that
my
up.
husband's team,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I am
he's-
heartbroken
yeah.
about
Who?
this.
Did he
He
sign
gets
with?
it. Do you think
The
he
Bucks.
gets
Oh.
his ring now?
He does not get a ring.
Well, with the
Well,
Bucks,
with
why not?
Brady.
Are you trying to
Yeah.
envision a world for me where I have to watch the Buccaneers win another Super Bowl with
I
Tom
think
Brady?
you do.
Because
I, mean,
I
it's
can't.
Possible.
Can you?
Certainly possible.
I
Remember,
really-
he's a Bucks. He's a Bills fan, Lauren, so he doesn't like Tom Brady.
I do not like Tom Brady. I do Gio though.
And
I
he's
love
and
Gio.
Dre's a Steelers fan, so
and I
not-
love a
neither
lot
one.
of guys on that team, which is
Yeah.
also very difficult for me. Like on the Bucks right now.
Yeah.
I
Do,
just
do
am
you
like,
hate your husband? Is that what you're trying to say?
no. To be fair,
Well-
I did not mind the Buccaneers at
Okay.
all
Until-
before they signed Tom Brady.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Then my
he's what
husband
put them
leaned
over the
all the
top.
way into it. He's got my kid wearing Tom Brady stuff.
Ah.
This is
Are they
just-
vegan yet?
Oh no. Yeah, I told him, I was like, you gotta adopt the Tom Brady diet now. If this is this where you're gonna go, you better lean all the way in.
Lean
I
on
don't
more.
like everything about Tom Brady.
No more
It's
strawberries.
It's like of all the indignities of 2020, I had to suffer through the Bucks season, and I can't. You know what? You just reminded me that it's possible. I'll have to endure another.
Hey,
so.
look, at least you have Sam Darnold on the Panthers to beat the Bucks.
That's not gonna happen.
Oh, boy. Charlotte. I went on Charlotte radio today. Kyle
Did you?
Bailey had
Yeah.
me on.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And he
no.
was asking me about the Sam Darnold thing, and I was
Oh,
like,
my.
I just said,
Why?
I said, who's the better quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Darnold?
Teddy Bridgewater.
And he says Sam
Thank you.
Darnold, and
That's
I said,
stupid.
I said no, he's. I said no, he's
That's
not.
new money. That's the new toy talking.
And, I,
That is
and
not
actually, my
right.
response to him was, I'm like, oh, so I guess you've been gaslit by the organization too.
Is he a Jets fan?
No, I mean,
it's
look,
just
it's.
Sam
I don't
Darnold's
know.
terrible.
it's complicated when we talk about.
The question is
yeah.
who's most likely to finish the season as a starting quarterback, and I think whoever the third
Whoever the
stringer
backup is,
Yeah,
probably.
whoever
Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be on this team.
Teddy Two
No.
Gloves. No, he's
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
traded.
He's going to get traded by the draft. What they can get, they'll probably
the
try to get
Vikings or
back.
something.
They'll probably try to get
But who
back
would-
what they lost
Yeah.
in the Sam Darnold deal, which wasn't a lot. to get Sam-
second, but other than that,
But I
yeah.
think that's what they're trying to get back.
I don't like
for
giving
Teddy
up a
Bridgewater.
second ever.
They should have traded him for a pack of
They're
gum
not,
and
no
some
one's going to give a second
baseballs.
for
I
Teddy.
agree. I agree with you. Yeah,
What
I think
has
they're-
Sam Darnold ever done in the NFL?
Nothing.
to
It's all.
justify
It's
it?
all.
He's a part of a great meme, to be fair. To
He
him.
really is.
It's
Him
all-
and Mark Sanchez.
which,
boy, they
which
Mono
I give.
nucleosis.
I give the. I,
love
give
that.
credit.
I
to
laugh
the
every time I
Panthers.
see it.
I do give credit to the Panthers for leaning into the mono graphic because they flipped him, they're out indefinitely from New York, and they.
Oh, I
flipped him
forgot
to-
about the indefinitely,
It was
yeah.
very good. No, it's they. I think that the Panthers are going to be right back in this position next year, looking at being foul for Howell. That's where we're going to be.
What?
Is that a new thing?
That's-
Are
I'm
you
making
starting
it a
that?
thing.
Hold on.
Please
So
don't.
hashtag foul for
Foul
Howell.
for Howell.
What
Is-
is-
so how are we spelling this, Joe?
No.
F-O-U-L? Is that?
Yeah.
It has to be FOUL.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
FOUL.
you're talking like chicken.
I wanna be
or-
the
Hey, I
chicken.
just wanted
or
to be
poultry.
clear here.
Yeah.
Of some
Foul.
sort.
Foul for
Howell.
Okay,
with
can
it.
I love it.
go
Let's
through
start
about-
and-
Going
and
ham for Sam.
Recognize.
No, ham is good sometimes.
All right,
Like going ham.
we're
going ham for
talking
Sam.
about
Yeah, Dre over here
things
dying.
that are horrible about Carolina teams. Why the hell can't Hurricanes handle the Red Wings this year? What the hell is going on?
Are the Red
we're
Wings-
we're
are the-
watching the game right now. It's in the third period.
Are the Red
and
Wings from Florida?
The Red Wings just scored. I don't know why.
If the
We're
team
we're
is from
3 and 4
Florida-
against them.
If the team's from Florida, this is what Rod Brindamore has to do. Convince his team that this is actually they're from Detroit, Florida.
To be fair, there are probably a lot of Red Wings fans that live in Florida
Probably,
now.
yeah.
Probably.
What I don't understand is that they just gave up half their team in Detroit, and they're
Yeah.
still beating Carolina.
Sometimes they're just teams like that. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it's a
it
weird
makes
thing.
no sense.
It's
I'm not
frustrating.
saying it makes
It's
any sense.
frustrating.
You know?
Yeah.
One more NFL note. Y'all heard that Edelman's retiring?
Yeah.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Look, he was great for my fantasy team
Yeah.
for a really long time.
You're not going to take it there, are you?
Just my fantasy team.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a Patriots fan.
No, I was going to say, don't ask if he's a Hall of Famer.
No, he's definitely
No,
not a Hall of
thank
Famer.
you.
Oh, that's a dumb
Because
decision.
that's
No,
as
no,
of
no,
this
no.
recording, that's what
He's
a week's
Wes
worth of
Welker.
ESPN is going to be.
He's Wes Welker, and Wes Welker's not a Hall of Famer.
Correct.
So
But he was
Although
played
Wes
playoffs.
is probably a little closer.
Wes is closer because
Yeah.
he had
Yeah.
MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
But he doesn't have
yeah.
a Super Bowl MVP like Edelman does.
That's very
Oh,
true.
darn.
David
But he-
Gibbons
but he
also.
doesn't-
true.
Yeah.
you could go through the list of
I
Super
know.
Bowl.
Good. Dwight Smith.
Oof.
All right, so we've had you guys on for it's over an hour now. So we wanted to talk about your 919 beer podcast.
Okay.
Dominic had some questions because Dominic, as we talked about before the show,
Lauren
he's-
has hosted
he's-
that one, I believe.
yeah?
A couple
I'm
times,
bougie.
but
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
He-
really bougie.
He's a bougie beer
I feel
guy.
like my beer tastes aren't fancy enough to go like to
Mine
host
either.
that podcast.
I drink PBR on the golf course.
Okay, see, I'm not there.
Yeah, that's
and I
fine.
like Red Oak.
There's
on
another-
the-
Oh, I love Red Oak's great.
Red Oak's
Yeah,
my
it
favorite.
is.
I went to the
I
new
have it on
space
draft
recently.
right now.
I like
Great.
the
It's
uh,
awesome.
Their
Yeah.
beer garden is insane.
So great. Yeah.
It's
I
just-
like the Munich lager.
It's 500
Yeah.
miles away from
That's
you guys,
good.
though.
Yeah.
And
The
that's-
Hellas,
Oh,
it's
the
not
Hellas
bad, it's
lager
not
is good
It's,
too.
it's 20 minutes from my house.
I don't think I've had a beer at Red Oak that I dislike.
a Hellas lager. That's
Hummingbird is
What I've discovered in doing the 919 Beer podcast is that the Red Oak drinker is not a typical craft beer drinker.
See, that's
It's
what
a
we heard
Red
from your
Oak
glass jug guy.
drinker.
That's but
That's,
that's
what's that? That's what
that's
we hear from your
silly.
glass jug guy. He said the same thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense
What
to
does
me
this
because
mean?
what does that mean?
So-
the
Yeah,
craft
I'm
beer
curious
drinker
too.
is the craft beer drinker is the IPA drinker because to me the IPA
So-
drinker is really just the pumpkin spice latte
my
for
understanding
basic white dudes.
My understanding of Red Oak, and it's not just from Chris over at
Yeah.
Glass Jug.
Yeah.
It's in talking to other people in distribution,
Mm-hmm.
and Red Oak early on in the craft beer scene became the de facto tap at a lot of restaurants. And
Well,
it's like
sure.
Red Oak. I'll put it like this: Red Oak is the equivalent of the same person who only drinks Budweiser.
I don't think that's true, though.
What?
The Red Oak drinker is the Red Oak drinker, typically on a consumer level.
But I drink Red Oak. But
Yeah.
the reason I drink Red Oak is because I love a quality Bavarian alt beer.
I was gonna say I like German beer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
too.
consumer, like I like Red. Again,
Yeah.
this was shocking to me when they explained this to me because I
I-
asked like,
I
well,
think
how
they're
come we haven't
wrong.
talked to Red Oak on the beer podcast? And the attitude was the Red Oak drinker isn't your typical craft beer
But
drinker.
do you
And I was
want to
like,
know why the
Oh, what? That's
typical
weird.
craft beer brewery brews mostly IPAs? It takes a shorter amount of time
Yeah.
to actually get them through fermentation,
Yeah,
and they sell more often, and they can charge more for the beer.
yeah.
Which means that
But a
the
lot of craft-
breweries themselves actually make more money off of the IPAs,
Which
so
makes
they
sense.
downplay the lager because the lager.
But that's
takes-
changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's
no,
changed.
it hasn't. It really
Are
hasn't.
you doing the podcast?
No, I'm not doing the
Are
podcast.
you doing the
but
919
I
Beer
but
podcast?
I
Are you
have
talking
a
to
lot of friends
breweries
that
every
actually
week?
brew. Yes.
Okay. I'm telling you that a lot of these breweries are transitioning to lagers because the lagers have actually become the differentiator between what is a good brewery and a bad brewery. Because I
Well,
agree
sure,
with you.
but the flagship is typically the IPA.
How much of that is consumer driven and how much is that a brewery driven?
It's consumer driven, but it's all because it's also profit driven.
okay.
Because you only have so many gallons that you can ferment at a time.
Yeah.
And if you can turn it over faster and sell it faster, then you're more likely to put your effort into that. Not effort into that, but you're utilizing that as a means to produce the beer that you want to.
Does Mason Jar still doesn't make one, right?
No, they don't make an IPA. They
Yeah.
flirt with it.
Yeah, because Adam's like very.
I'm
Yeah,
not
they
an
flirt with
Principled
IPAs.
on
Like,
that.
They'll do
Yeah.
an IPL. They'll do those type of things.
What's the
that-
difference?
What is the difference?
I don't know what.
I was gonna say I was like I literally
Imperial
don't know what the
pale
difference is.
lager. So lagering and ale
Yeah.
is different. It's top
Oh,
fermented
right,
versus
okay.
bottom
Yeah.
fermented. There's a difference in how long it actually takes in the fermentation process. So if you
takes
can
the same amount of
if you
time
can
to get in my
ferment a
belly.
beer in 45 days versus 60 days,
All that
Yeah.
matters.
it increases your profit margin
Sure, of
because
course.
you can turn over the tanks.
So but I also am convinced that IPAs, anybody can make an IPA.
Sure.
You just shove a bunch of hops in it.
Yeah, but
you're
not
good
not
to go.
everybody can make a good one.
That's true.
But I do think that the consumers don't know what a good IPA is versus a bad IPA.
Well, most of them don't. Yeah,
so they
that's
just
true.
go, "Oh man, this is so hoppy, bro."
Yeah,
Oh,
and like,
that I
the
know.
more
Must be
bitter it
bad.
is, but
like
the-
just, and to me, oftentimes the people who are like when Hop Slam was a big thing, that just
Yeah.
tasted like armpit to me.
But a good
although you're the Cicerone, I don't know if that's the technical term. Is armpit,
Is armpit the technical
I-
term? Dom?
it is,
or is
you're
it old?
correct.
the hot, what is the?
I'll go with
This
the old
reminds
feet.
me of old feet.
It's
It's like wow, this makes my face like.
But my point about the lagers, though, is that you're right in that it takes longer to make. The
Yes.
process of making lagers
Yes.
is longer. However, I would argue that breweries
Yeah.
are now starting to differentiate themselves based on their lagering programs.
Sure.
So barrel, it's like there's two differentiators now in all the beer podcast guests that we do. Either you're doing your barrel aging, or you are doing lagers.
Yes.
And if you got the capacity to do both, you do both. But there's a shift in that, and I'm convinced that people have started to make lagers for two reasons. One, to basically flex on other breweries.
Yeah.
We make a very good lager because it's
Yes.
difficult. It'll
Yes.
expose you if you don't know how to make beer.
Yes.
Two, if you want to broaden your audience, you have to give them something that they're familiar with, but better. And I
Sure.
always argued that people talked about their craft beer journey beginning with an IPA. I thought that was crap. Yes, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I thought the whole
Mine started with a Kolsch,
see,
Sure.
but I'm
That's-
basic.
Yeah.
but that's the majority
That's
of
real,
people
though.
because that's real because
Yeah,
I'm
or
also
a
in the
Pilsner
same
and a
way.
Kolsch. Like those were my gateways.
First
Yeah.
time I
Yeah.
had
Gateway.
went to Raleigh Times and they had Gaffel
I
Kolsch
like
on
Raleigh
tap,
Times.
and I was like, "What's that? Oh, try Gaffel
Yeah,
Kolsch."
sure.
I
Oh,
can
yeah.
crush those things. They're delicious. So I think that's where things are going, and that's why you see so many people coming out with beer-flavored beer now.
Sure.
Because they realize that people don't
Beer-flavored
want
beer.
to, because people
Yeah.
don't want to, because there's also the
Sour was going in a direction for a while. I think people have
There were
stepped
like
a little bit back
exclusively
from that.
sour places for
Yeah,
a while.
there's
And I was
exclusively
like,
sour
yeah, I won't be
places.
going there.
I also
Yeah.
think the pandemic switched it over to people wanting to drink more
Yeah.
And the problem with
Yeah.
IPAs is that there's only
And
so
sours.
many IPAs that you can have in a day.
Yeah.
So IPAs will fill
Speak for
you freaking up,
yourself.
man. No, they'll fill you up. No, I'm talking about the ones
I
that people
know.
were making, like these double IPAs
Oh,
or
I
an
can't do
IBU.
those.
17% alcohol.
Yeah,
tastes
or
like
the
17
IBUs
yeah.
are off the charts, and you're making the bitter beer face. There's only so many of those you can have sitting.
Let's talk about this dessert beer you just had, or that you had, and you talked about on the glass jug guy.
No,
with
yeah,
the-
you were talking
chocolate
about
peanut butter.
the Noose River.
Oh
collab.
yes, it was a
was.
collaboration with
What?
Good Berries.
Yeah.
yeah, that was a
Oh,
ridiculous.
Lauren, you didn't hear this?
dude.
I love Noose River.
Noose
that
River's
was
a great
little too sweet
Yeah.
for me.
I'm with you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why it
But
was a
I'm
beer that
listening.
Kelly and I split at the end of our
Yeah.
dinner.
So tell Lauren what this
Oh, that
beer
would
is,
probably
and
be
she
pretty
missed.
hot.
it's Good Berries collaboration with the
Oh.
cocoa nibs and the peanut butter and all that stuff. And it was basically ice cream.
I kind of,
Well-
I kind of felt like, look, if you added a scoop of ice cream to this and
Yeah.
gave me a spoon, this would be
Ooh.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
the guy from Glass Jug said that somebody ordered 3 of them. And
No,
downed
I said that.
3 of them.
Yeah, I said
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
in talking with the waiter, I was mentioning like, yeah, this is a perfect last beer. She's yeah, some people don't understand that, and then next thing you know, they order another one.
That's
and,
Oh,
then- and
insane.
there was
throwing up before
4.
they leave.
4?
Four.
No.
Wow, you had 4 Frosties?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
The diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ice
I
cream
like
without
Noose River
the
quite a bit. I like their hazy
Exactly.
IPA. It
Mm.
tastes like orange
Baileys.
juice. We drink it with breakfast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is it, the Saturday morning or the Sunday
Yeah.
morning?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one, right?
Yeah,
that
the-
to me is
the-
like a
the hazy-
mimosa.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what he
It's
said.
great.
That's what
It's
he said.
great.
Yeah.
You mentioned House of Hops was your sponsor. Was a sponsor
Yes.
over there.
I was actually
Love
just there on
House of Hops.
House Hops
I
is
was there
awesome.
on Saturday.
So
Actually.
do you know Keith? I guess you've had
Yes.
dealings with Keith. He's a hell of a golfer, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Uh-oh.
He's a member at Briar Creek Country Club and
nice.
can get out there. He's 6'6".
Sure.
So dude can get out there and swing the sticks. He's
Nice.
He's a really nice dude too, man. I really like Keith and Gary and all those guys at the House of Hops. I had a lot of dealings with them in the past. Got anything else that you want to talk about, Mr. Dog?
Well, it was funny. As we were talking about beer, you mentioned that you could crush the Kolsch, right? And one of the things that I wanted to do was read some of the reviews
Oh.
of the.
I forgot about this.
Fun.
Is this going to be like Old Takes Exposed?
No.
Just kidding.
There's only a few. The first one I have that I wanted to read has to do with that word.
Okay.
And it's a 4-star review on iTunes. It says
That's not bad.
it's from Knight Rider.
Uh-huh.
I really enjoy this podcast. Finding good local craft beer is super awesome, and North Carolina is a hotbed for it.
Uh-huh.
However, I need to knock a star off simply for Joe's overuse of the word crush.
Okay. Noted.
Like a nitpicky critique that like actually isn't unfair at this
Yeah,
point.
no, it's
noted. Noted. Okay.
Give me a 4-star every time. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Hell
Doesn't
yeah.
mess the algorithm too much.
Right.
Okay, here's one that made me giggle quite a bit. This is from Radfan957. Pretty unlistenable. The host is more interested in political one-liners than anything else.
Maybe he's
They don't
reviewing
talk
them.
much about beer, just speculations
was the
about the
date?
current state of the market mixed with their conspiracy theories. So this is April 15th, 2020.
Okay.
Huh.
What happened on April 15th?
Right.
Fair.
Okay.
I mean, it was
Also
more like
fair.
mid-March, but I guess.
well,
yeah.
no, we were in the middle of shutdown at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You were probably talking about how you like have to wear masks.
But that's
Yeah.
that's
And
a
you can't
1
drink beer
star.
without
That's a
moving your
1
mask.
star.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, sorry that craft beer places were all shut down.
Yeah,
we didn't know
shut
what the
down
hell
and we
was
had
going
nothing
on,
else to
and we
talk
just
about.
were
Sure.
dealing with a pandemic. But yeah, my bad.
That's
I guess that guy's just
That's-
into cancel culture.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Probably he's probably in the transfer portal.
probably.
Look, this is all fun and games. that was the worst one. That was the
Okay.
only
Oh.
written 1-star review.
Okay.
There were quite
Yeah.
a few more 1-star reviews
Oh.
that didn't have the balls to put their name
Yeah,
behind it.
put your name on
right,
it.
right,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
I'm old
Uh,
enough to remember when you had to write something.
I know.
And then 1 year ago, Mike J. It says informative. Been listening for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Really wish
Original.
Joe would let the guests talk instead of interrupting them and telling them how they should run their businesses.
Okay, that's actually
See.
that's the problem because he's actually not talking about me.
Okay.
No.
He's actually talking about Wayne.
Yeah.
Wayne is the person he's referencing because
But
Wayne.
he said Joe.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're coming to the end of this podcast, so we'll close on this fun story because
That's
I want
fair.
Lauren to turn red
Oh,
Okay,
please.
good.
because it
Oh,
actually
no.
ties in. It
Let's
actually
do
ties
this.
into that review.
Excellent.
You know how many people cannot tell who is who when
Oh,
listening to
yeah.
the radio?
Okay. I
Oh,
don't know.
well, that's not gonna make
Yeah.
me turn. That's
Lauren did not know
Yeah,
which
I
one
didn't.
was me and which one was Adam for the
No.
longest time.
for a
That's
long
fair.
time.
And I just was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
We
knowing
sound
them now, I get it.
We sound
Completely
completely
different.
different.
And like obviously their personalities are very different.
Yeah.
Everything
And,
else.
Yes.
and Adam and Joe are not. They don't look similar.
No.
Right, but I only knew them from the radio.
Right.
He's
So
also,
Sure,
like,
sure.
he's
Their
also
voices.
old. Yeah, totally like voices and stuff like that.
so I'd be like the sarcastic one. That's the one I don't.
That's the
care
one I
for.
don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Me.
Speak.
And now who's one of your great friends, Lauren?
I know.
That's
it's weird
right.
how the world
Isn't
works.
that
right?
funny?
It's
So, but my point is that like even people you would think would know which one is which,
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
But like
Right.
that review that you just read,
Yeah.
that's Wayne because Wayne always likes to drop the reference as a business owner himself.
Also,
So-
I was
True.
gonna say, to be fair to Joe, like having hosted that podcast a couple times, it is very difficult to rein it in sometimes.
Sometimes,
That's all I'm
yeah.
saying. Because they're
Sometimes.
not in radio. Like that's not
Yeah.
their
Sure.
primary
Yeah,
business.
yeah, it's-
They've gotten way better at it because they've done
Yeah.
it for so many times
We've
with
done
you.
it for like 7 years now.
But
Yeah.
like there's a natural tendency when you're not like clock aware to just
Yeah.
go and you're like, okay, we
No,
got
like we are now.
All right, so before we sign off here, fellas, rate and review us. You could go to J Schmo Sports at Twitter and at Instagram and on
You
Facebook and
can
LinkedIn.
Download, subscribe, listen to us
On Apple.
on iTunes,
Spotify,
Stitcher,
Google.
and Google. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Click
and
that little
watch us
bell.
there.
You'll see every time we have a new episode.
Click the bell. Turn on the notifications
That's right.
so you're notified anytime
That's
we
right.
post any new content there. Our social media handles are JSMO Sports everywhere you find us.
JSCHMO Sports.
We are also on the web at www.joeschmosportshow.com
That's
where
right.
you can find all of our information as well as our web blog.
Yeah, so just make sure you rate, subscribe, review. All right, fellas, I guess that'll wrap it up for today. And until next time, folks, we are the Schmoes. We'll see you.
Cut to the theme music.
Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo.